I was in an abusive marriage. He would punch me, like in these areas, in this, like, in the ribs and the stomach. He got on top of me and he strangled me so hard I couldn't breathe. And he said he had anger management issues and that I shouldn't argue with him. And this is what I make him do.
Welcome to the very first episode of season 3 of Stigma, the show where we talk about things that no one really wants to talk about. The show where we share stories which no one really wants to hear. But more importantly, the show which empowers the voices that needs to be heard. This is Stigma. And on this very first episode of our new season, I'm really happy to welcome Rosh Kumarasinghe. Rosh, thank you so much for agreeing to be on the show.
You're welcome.
Rosh, you are a beauty powerhouse. You are beautiful as a person, inside and out, but you're also a very successful entrepreneur in the beauty industry with your own brand. But today we're not here to talk about your entrepreneurship or your brand or your success in your profession. We're here to talk about something else, something more personal. What was it that you wanted to talk about today?
I'm here to talk about the fact that I was in an abusive marriage.
Okay. Your ex-husband, how long were you with him for?
About 10 years.
Okay. And when did this abuse start? I mean, where did you meet him? How did it happen?
He was my lecturer. I was in university here in Sri Lanka. He was my teacher. So he was there was always a power imbalance to start with, I think, because he was my teacher. And I had obviously never done anything like that, start dating a teacher, but he was about 5 years older to me. But he, I think, had a history anyway of dating many students. I was in the first. There was lots of students that he dated prior to me, definitely shorter than 10 years. And the abuse started, I'm sure the manipulation and the emotional abuse started really right from the get-go. It's very unseen, those type of things. But the physical abuse started about a year into it and went on almost for the next 9 years after.
You said you also moved in with him.
I did.
Early. Did the physical and emotional abuse start after you moved in? Or?
Yes.
Okay.
I met him when I was 19, and then by 20 I moved in with him. We lived together, and it all started around that time. I remember the first time, I still remember the first time that he got physical with me. I still remember this black t-shirt, and he pulled me so hard that it tore from here. And that was the first ever instance. So it never started with actually hitting me or whatever. It started like that. And then he explained that away, saying he has depression. I was a young girl, okay, so I'm now 36. So when I'm 20, that was a long time ago. And we're not very much taught about all these things, right? About abuse or depression or bipolar. We don't know any of that stuff. Now maybe so. With social media on the rise and younger generations now grow up different, and I think we grew up different. I didn't even know what was happening, and he said he had anger management issues and that I shouldn't argue with him. And this is what I make him do. So it was
So that's the manipulation.
Yes, it's really my fault, and that progressed obviously later to he would punch me like in these areas, in this, in the ribs and the stomach. He would hold me really tight on my arms, and this would happen even I remember I would remember at Kamikaze, there was a bar called Kamikaze back then, and we went for an evening with drinks, and there were other people with us. He held me so hard because he got pissed with me on my arm, and he was abusive in front of other people, but nobody knew because I could feel tears coming in. I'm smiling.
Because he was hurting?
He was hurting me. And he would leave bruises, but always in my arms and in my torso. He's only...
So that no one could see.
Yes. The only time, and this is probably the worst time, the worst day. And after this, I moved us back to my parents because we were in a rented separate place, and I moved us back because this was one of the worst nights of my life. We had an argument after going to a friend's birthday party, which was close by. We were living in Colombo 4, I think that's Wambalapitiya. And I would never forget, this night. We was living in this lane called Dikretsa Place, and in that house, it was just the two of us. We came back after the birthday party. He was drunk. We had an argument, just as always, and he would go to hit me. But this day, it escalated. He hit me. Whenever I fought back, if ever I fought back, it would get worse. It was a bad idea. It was better to just
stand there
and just take it
and be a punching bag.
Yeah. Whereas if you try to do anything
to defend yourself,
yes, it would be worse. So this night it was worse because I was also pissed, I'm sure, and I'm sure I argued with him. We had an argument, and it ended up with him on top of me. He pushed me onto the bed, and I would never forget, because we had 2 single beds instead of 1 large bed, because this apartment or house we were renting was not our furniture, it was what we had. He pushed me hard onto the bed. My head went and hit at the back of the middle of the 2 single beds, right? Because I'm lying now sideways onto the bed, and then the 2 single beds, so the middle, what do you call it? Like the middle patta who went and hit my back of the head. He got on top of me and he strangled me so hard I couldn't breathe. He strangled me. I somehow pushed him. I kicked him and I pushed him off of me, and I went to run, and I was crying, I'm crying and screaming. He took my head. He came behind me. He took my head from the back of my head and he bashed it into the wall. And that was the worst night. That night, I ended up at Lanka hospitals at the emergency. And I had to call my parents. And I said I fell down the stairs.
That's the excuse you gave.
I said I fell down the stairs. And they live in Mount Lavinia. And I think the hospitals here obviously are not equipped or know.
They didn't suspect, they didn't ask you. They just said,
no, Muqaddamune fell down the stairs, end of story. I think it would have been a different conversation maybe in Australia. Maybe they would have seen signs and tried to help me. I went back to my parents' house. I refused to go back to the house we were living in. I think I was now finally afraid because this was really bad. Previously, it was bad too. He was hitting me and he called me things. Like he would say that he said I was an insufferable and that I was, that my parents didn't make me and that's why he has to make me.
Okay.
He
like
said
it
that.
Was his...
Yeah, his duty to make me.
Yeah,
make me. That's the word he used. He said, your parents didn't make you, so I have to. That's the thing though, like these things don't always look the same. I'm not, like it's sometimes hard for people to understand what I went through because I'm not timid.
Yeah.
It didn't.
So they think, oh, how could it happen to you?
To you, yeah. Like you're so strong, you're so like loud or bubbly or laughing. And even when I was with him, only a very few people later told me, oh, we saw the signs. But it was really messy, you know, it's not all black and white. These things are not all, hey, he's hitting you, he's horrible to you, then why don't you leave? Because I loved him. And it's so messed up, and that's the truth though.
It's not messed up. You're not messed up for that.
I know.
Right?
It's just, it's really easy for people to look from the outside and say, but I would have left. I would have done this. I would have done that. Like, I think that's really naive until you're in that exact situation. You can never know what people are going through, right? Like exactly what is going on.
When you were going through that, all of this horrific situations, did you think to yourself, I am being abused?
Because there were moments where he would say, oh, his dad died when he was young. That changed him and it was all difficult. His mom was horrible to him. There's a story that he's fed to you, right? And you feel so. It's such a weird thing to say, but I used to say this to my new partner. I said, it was almost as if like I thought he loved me, so it must hurt him so much to have to hurt me. That's how much I was brainwashed, right? And this abuse has not stopped. he messages me on Instagram to this
Still?
day. Yes, it's been 8 years.
Oh my God.
And he would send me strange messages once in a while. I'm pretty sure it's when he's drunk or he's seen something of mine in terms of success about the brand or something. It sets him off type of thing. And he would be once he said, it's really weird. So it depends on the time. It'd be like sporadic. It would be like, hey, how are you? And my now partner Ranga and dad doing? Like, I've seen some fun videos of you. Like, it seems demeaning. And then there will then later be like things where he's like, buck teeth, like, you know, and like telling me, recently he said, what's your combined weight now, about me and my husband. I'm sure the two of you all must have to buy 3 plane tickets to go everywhere you're going. And this is just now, okay, like 2024. And it ended in 2016. And I've been married now for 5 years again, and like been with my...
He must have said worse things while you were together.
Of course. But this is now, I mean, it's still of course I don't reply. Of course I don't really care now, because I'm a different person, right? I'm out of it. I'm almost laughing at him now, because to be honest, if I look at where he is and how far and away I have come, that is why I don't think he understands that. Like, I have my own life now. I have my dog Andy, and I have my new husband, and I have my new life, and my dad's in Australia with me, and like, it's really different now. I'm not that person anymore.
What made you actually leave?
I didn't leave. He left me. So this is why my story is really strange. He left me. I never left him. I don't think I would have ever left him. And I count my lucky stars. And
that he left you.
Yes. At the time, I was devastated. I couldn't breathe. I was like coming up for air, and I was drowning when he left me, because I only knew him since I was 19 years old. When I was 29, he left me.
So nowhere in these 10 years of really horrendous abuse that you did not think that I need to leave this man. So
how he left me was 2000. This is right about a year after I had started Beauty by Rosh, and there were a few incidents. For example, I was featured on Vogue India, and it really bothered him. Like, he was like, instead of celebrating me and being like, oh, you know, good on you, or I don't know, anything nice, I mean, anything.
Jealous you outshining him.
He said I should be on Time magazine covers. So the conversation shifted to that, and I had to like be like, I know you should, you know, console him. So I could never really have my own moment or thing or anything. And I think Beauty by Rosh might have played a huge role in him actually leaving me, because I was changing. I feel I was...
You becoming yourself?
Yes, and also more independent and more... I was growing up too. I think age plays a huge factor as well, because when you're older, I think you're wiser. It's really true. And I think I was... I'll tell you how the abuse stopped. This is a good ending to tell you how the abuse stopped. It was on my birthday in 2015, I like to say. He came home after work. He was working at this time. And he said, what do you want to do for your birthday? At 7:30 in the night. I was like, I don't know, like, what should we do for my birthday? Like, I mean, for his birthday, I would go all out. I mean, take me out for dinner. I mean, like, it's fine. Like, whatever, something, okay, anything. I'll pay for it even. Like, I don't fun. He was living off my dad for the whole period of our relationship. Anyway, that's another story. And he came, and we had an argument, and he came to hit me. And I screamed at him, and I said, I was furious, and I said, if you're going to hit me on my birthday, get out. That was the other time that I told him to get out. I said, I don't need this anymore. You're living under my roof in my parents' house, and you're going to hit me on my birthday. Like, this is how it's going to go? I said, get out. And you know what he told me? He said, when did you become such a because I was just finally standing up for myself. And I said, go. If you're going to hit me, and if this is how it's going to go, then leave. And otherwise, if you want to live under my roof, because this was my parents' house, you don't get to hit me. He left in my car, because he didn't have a car. He got in my car and he left for like 3 hours. And then he came back at like, this would have been, the argument would have gone for a couple of hours, like an hour or so. And then he came back and he said, I'll live according to your rules.
Wow.
Yeah. And he never hit me again for that last year.
But then he left you.
And then he left me.
Okay. And after this awful relationship ended, what's your story of recovery?
So I think it helped that I was still me. Like I hadn't really, I don't know how, but I didn't let it change me. I was still me. And that's why I think, and I think my parents being around and being supportive really helped me.
But did you speak to a therapist?
I did. I spoke to a therapist 2 weeks after he had left and everything changed. And that's when everything changed. I really encourage anybody, at least if you cannot tell your friends, you cannot tell your family, you can tell a therapist, because at least they can guide you. And my therapist is very good. He's excellent. And I've been talking to him for the last 8 years, every once a week.
Wow.
That's a commitment, but I do it because it's necessary, because this trauma doesn't leave you. And it's not just that. I think everybody, can use a therapist. I think it's just a wrong misconception that it's only when something is bad or wrong,
Life itself is traumatic.
Yes. And I spoke to him, and 2 weeks later is when I started, and he told me in my second session only, hey, Rosh, have you heard of a narcissist? And he's like, I encourage you to just go read up on it. And I read Psychology Today and a few other articles about stories about women like me. And I could so resonate. It was just like I was in my own cult, right? He was my cult leader and he was manipulating me and brainwashing me. And nobody can understand what women go through if you're with a narcissistic partner. He's got narcissistic personality disorder. And like everything fits. It's not just that he's narcissistic trait, right? He's full blown. And in my opinion, he's a dangerous man. He is dangerous, because if he can do that to me, how many others is he doing it to? And what is he doing? Because to this day, he is a teacher.
Still
to this day, and it's worse because he's not teaching university anymore. He's teaching high school.
Wow.
And he's a teacher at a very prominent international school, shaping the minds of 15 and 16-year-olds. And
it's dangerous.
And I would say that is very worrisome, that there is a person like this.
How different do you think Rosh of today is to the Rosh that was 10 years ago?
Oh my God, I'm not even the same person. I think innately, like, I'm still the same person. Like, I'm still really friendly, I'm still really loyal, I'm still to be honest, I went and I met my new husband and I wasn't opposed to finding love again. And I'm like one of those people, right? And I'll go on the fairy tale wedding again. We got married in Santorini. So I never lost all of those things are still the same. But how I see things from what I went through, I think I'm just, maybe I was always strong, but now I know I'm strong. So maybe that's the difference. So.
And what would you tell abuse, domestic abuse, violence against women by men is so common in Sri Lanka. About 2 out of 3 women suffer domestic violence here. What would you tell to another young girl like you, either in a relationship or in a marriage, who's going through, who's being mocked by her partner, who's been physically hit by her partner? What would you tell to a girl like that?
The only message I can give them, I don't think I can ask them to leave. I would like them to, but they're not going to listen because I wouldn't have, right? It's very hard to take that information. Hey, you're being hurt, you must leave. There is no changing this man. But I think that message is hard to get. At least take this takeaway. Life does not end once this relationship ends. Okay? I think there's way more to life and you can thrive, not just survive, but you can. There's so much more that you can be doing with your life than trying to change this man or trying to make this. The relationship is done. If he is hitting you or if he is manipulating you or if you feel like he's not supporting you to be the best of you and like happy about your accomplishments or just supporting you, saying, no, like I'll help you. Or, if you don't feel loved and secure, the relationship is already done. And I think my new husband, Ranga, he's lovely. And he always tells me, I always asked him this, do you think everything I went through and all that is what made me me? And he said, absolutely not. You would have always been you. Everything that you went through only slowed that down and stopped you and delayed it. But you would have always been these things. He just stifled you.
God, Rosh, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
This has been very moving, very powerful, but also very inspiring. And I think your story has really inspired me, but I think you probably will be saving a lot of women and young girls.
I hope so.
Through sharing this here. So thank you so much.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk about something that happened and I never actually got to sit down and put it into words in one place, So thank you.
I'm glad you got to do it here. Thank you.
You're welcome.